All right, welcome everyone to Weave's first webinar in the trenches. We've got Dr. Steve Maniak here. Steve owns a very successful vet practice in Long Beach and has agreed to help us out today and give us some feedback on things that are working really well in his practice. Steve, it's great to have you here. Do you want to give a quick background about your practice, maybe just so that everyone knows what we're looking at uh, as size, location, demographics, those types of things?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate this opportunity to just kind of give my insight into the kinds of questions that we're going to be going through and the issues. Um, Again, you said my name is Steve Maniak. I am a veterinarian and hospital owner of Pine Animal Hospital in downtown Long Beach, California. I opened Pine Animal Hospital in 2013 from the ground up, and we're going on almost 8 years now, and really excited about our continued work. You know, we love what we do. We feel strongly about the kind of medicine, the quality of medicine, and the quality of service that we're providing our clientele. And we're really happy where we're going with it. We're seeing our vision coming about, and it's a really neat thing. Um, just in terms of our hospital, we're I like to say 3 to 4 doctor hospital, because I used to say just 3, but I see more potential now, especially within the last 6 months or so. There's a lot more room for growth, even beyond what I envisioned when we first opened. Downtown Long Beach in general is a very progressive, very diverse city that's located at the southernmost part of Los Angeles County. We're kind of right in between Los Angeles and Orange County. We have an extremely diverse population. I think a lot of people, when they think of Long Beach, they think of things like Snoop Dogg. But believe it or not, it's a very wide gamut, very wide array of populations. We've got suburbs, we've got the beach towns, we have a downtown that is just growing like crazy. Um, we have all these high rises popping up all over the place, even while COVID is going on. So it's a rapidly growing, very diverse population here.
Awesome. Thanks for that background. That kind of helps everyone know how they compare on what levels, and as far as the advice that you're going to give today and those types of things, how that applies to their practices and their hospitals. So let's start. The goal of today is everything that is happening prior to the first appointment to help grow the practice, help maximize the success of the practice. So let's start first things first. What marketing is working the best for you, and where are you seeing the most new clients coming from?
Yeah, I would say, believe it or not, I know it has a negative connotation in the veterinary industry amongst many other industries, but review sites, Google and Yelp, have been our biggest marketer. And it all comes down to, I like to say that negative reviews are even a good thing for businesses, because they it gives people an opportunity to see what you're all about, as far as how you deal with things. Hey, we're all human, and things go wrong. things don't always go the way we want them to, and they don't go for clients necessarily the way they want it to. So it's a great place to personalize what you're about, and responding to reviews and showing what you're all about, and showing how you process good and bad, and all those things. That's really important, and that's been our biggest marketer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've totally seen that. I work with a lot of local businesses along with working with Weave, and consistency in your brand. You know, your consistency is not only seen in good reviews, but also how you deal with those bad reviews, just like you said.
Yeah.
Um, what other ways are you using online marketing, and how are you positioning yourself there? Like if I were to find Animal Hospital and see their website, what am I going
Mhm.
to expect as far as the way that you display your brand?
So my goal has always been to be unique, to be different. I think that as veterinarians, when we own hospitals, when we open hospitals, when we manage them, we're so still focused on the medicine, and don't do as well on the business aspect. And the business aspect is when you think of new clients and marketing, to me, the thought process needs to be, well, why would someone choose Pine Animal Hospital over anyone else? You know, or what? And if you can't answer that, if your stuff looks like everyone else's because you've been sold by the same companies that everyone else is doing, then it's all the same to whoever someone decides to choose. It's all about personalizing. The website, all of the content is what I wrote. How it looks, it's over time um, it has changed and evolved. But to begin with, we decided not to go with veterinary industry standard. Here, let's hire one of these companies that is very prominent in the veterinary industry, and they just give us what they give us, and that's our website. Same thing for social media. We're not using an advertising company. It should be personalized, and I think it's important for managers or owners to personalize that. What's the message that you want to put out today? How do you want it to look? And make sure it's different from what anyone else and what everyone else is doing.
That's awesome. I think that was gold, and I hope everyone picked up on it. Is if you can't explain why someone should come to your practice or your hospital over a competitor, it's going to be really hard to stand out online. So many people competing in the online space. If you don't have that, someone that's reading, they essentially they're probably just going to go with number one, right? Like the first person I find rather than the best fit that I find. So
Right.
that was a huge nugget there if you didn't catch on to that. All right, so online presence, review sites, those are some of the main ways that you're attracting new clients to your office. Um, so in local business in general, there's usually a big drop off between someone who requests an appointment, whether that's through a demo form on your website or through calling your office, or if you have some sort of online booking system, um, someone who makes that request, and then the person who actually shows up for that. There's typically a decent sized drop off there. In your office, do you do anything to mitigate that, or do you not have any issues with that?
So prior to the COVID quarantine, we didn't really have a lot of issues to it.
Okay.
But since the quarantine, there's been such a big boom in pet ownership
Hmm.
that, and there was such a big wait list in all hospitals that were staying open that people were calling all around, creating new appointments at every hospital they could,
Hmm.
and then just showing up or putting their names on the wait list for the first hospital they could, and then showing up to the first one that calls them in.
Sure.
And so we were having about 30 to 40% of no shows, and a majority of them were new patients, new clients that we were seeing. And so we decided to make some changes about 3 months ago between me, my manager, and my head receptionist. We decided to put a $25 first new client deposit,
Yeah.
and it's worked. It's worked a lot. We Our no shows are down to, I believe, less than 5% since then, with very little to no drop off of appointments. I still can't remember, an open appointment slot.
Yeah.
It hasn't happened. God, I don't know, minimum 6, 7 months.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's that's awesome. Yeah, that's some good feedback. I know in a lot of industries, people argue either way. Is there a cancellation fee? But that, I mean, that can go towards the appointment, right? They just got to pay
right, exactly.
to schedule
It's
the.
it goes fully to that first exam.
Yeah, I think that's a great solution. That's yeah. I hadn't heard that, but that's a really good way to mitigate drop off, especially with pent up demand. You know, I had to take my dog got an eye infection the other day. We just barely moved locations, so looking for uh, anyone that could get him in. Some people were like months out, right?
Yeah,
So we didn't do the book at multiple places and try to get on the ASAP list. We found someone that could get us in within a couple of days. Um, but yeah, that's I think that's a really awesome solution. So thanks for bringing that up. Um,
yeah.
and you mentioned COVID. You know, COVID's changed the way that almost everyone does business. Um, what are some of the things, and one of the main ways that I see people uh, changing the way that they interact with businesses is they're more reliant on the business to tell them how things work now that there are COVID regulations in place, right? So, how have you communicated that to your clients and customers, and what does that communication process look like to make sure that they're comfortable, they're confident in knowing that you've got the right uh, procedures in place, those types of things.
Yeah, it's interesting. Our main change has been going from that interaction, that one-on-one interaction in an exam room with a client, to doing it, needing to do that virtually. So luckily, we have a fairly decent sized parking lot at our practice. So curbside was not as big of a deal for us, because we said, okay, now, the parking lot and the big dog run that we have back there is our new exam room in terms of communicating with the client. We can do it from 6 feet away and with masks on, and it's very safe. For as far as communicating those changes, just a lot of using verbal communication through text messaging, through phone calls. When they call, we let them know what the process is right away, how we're doing things. And globally, since the pandemic started, we were putting on social media exactly how we were making those changes to those. The thing is you're not reaching everyone. on social media. You're reaching everyone who's following and stuff like that. But it's really important for our staff to go through the motions of letting them know what the process is when they're coming in, which is they arrive, they send us a text message, and we start the process from there for their appointment. But other than that, everything else has been the same because we're using the same technology that we've been using before, other than going from live asking history questions for our massive histories that we take to turning them into electronic forms that we text or email to the client. They fill it out and it immediately goes to us into our practice management software, and it's all right there. We've been utilizing technology for so long that it kind of was basically a flip of the switch for us with going curbside, and hasn't been too disastrous by any stretch of the imagination. We're still seeing just as much, if not more, and in the same amount of time as we were before the quarantine.
That's awesome. And I know you've always been, very tech heavy in your practice, and that's really awesome. What I've also seen is this is anyone that's not super tech heavy in their practice, and maybe they don't have a history of two-way texting with their patients, or emailing, or posting things on social media. This is a great excuse to start implementing those things. I almost, anytime I schedule a service, I almost expect to get a text to let me know how things go in their business, to let me know, okay, show up here, do this. So, curbside waiting room, like you said, that's just a text message that says, wait, text us when you get here in the parking lot. We'll come out, and you can explain it that way. So it's a really great opportunity to start implementing those things if you haven't already.
Yeah, and for owners and managers of hospitals that don't find themselves to be very tech savvy, I guarantee you there's someone in the practice that is. We're in a pretty youthful, young industry, and uh, that youth brings that to do the technology thing. And so I guarantee there's someone in the practice who not only is more comfortable with it, but gets some joy out of doing those kinds of things. And it's important to find those people and to let them do their thing, because they will, chances are, if that's what works for them, if they find that that would be something that would draw them, that would draw a heck of a lot more clients for the practice itself.
Definitely, definitely. Well, Steve, I'm trying to keep these short and succinct, just things that people can take away and implement in their practice if they're not already. I do have one final question, and then we'll wrap things up. But again, thank you so much for your time being here. Uh,
Sure.
so I like asking business owners this question in any industry. Just I think it's really helpful for people that are just starting out. But if you got to go back to 2013, first day that you opened your hospital, and you took all the knowledge that you've gained in the last 7 years of running it, what advice would you give yourself on day one that would get you further ahead of where you are right now?
I would say the biggest thing is don't fear being different. Don't fear doing it differently from anyone else. We So much of what we do in this industry is follow others when it comes to making decisions for the business. And I think it holds us back and it holds our industry back. One of the few positives coming out with um, venture capitalists and corporatizing is that there's more technology coming into the veterinary space, and but prior to that, there's such this fear of doing things differently, doing things that aren't done by other veterinary providers. And um, it's really important not to fear that, to take those risks, to find what works best for you and your business.
Yeah, I'll echo that as well. Having owned small businesses in similar industries, there's always the, well, what if this happens? What if our patients or customers don't like this? We should probably not do it.
What if the internet goes out? I love that one.
Yeah,
And I'm like, if the internet goes out, you're going to have a lot more people freaking out about stuff
yeah,
than whether you're able to continue functioning the way you are.
definitely. Definitely. So the the strategy that I always try to take in owning small businesses was, don't ever make exceptions or make rules based on the minority. If you've got a small fraction that might get upset at a change, but the majority would probably think it was really cool and really beneficial to them,
Yeah.
make the change, right? Make the
Yep.
change in the interest of the most people. You can't always please everyone. And if you try to, you're not ever going to make those advancements, just like you said. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
well, this was super informative. Let's just do a quick recap. Um, Steve's practice is primarily just getting patients from review sites, online presence, um, completely customizing everything that goes up online, customizing, I think I said customizing everything that goes up online to represent their practice exactly how they want to represent it. As far as getting people in the door, they're doing really well at that. He mentioned putting $25 down on the appointment, not necessarily charging a cancellation fee. Obviously, it is if they don't show up, but when they do show up, it just goes right towards the appointment. I thought that was really awesome advice. Um, Utilizing technology to help communicate things that are changing with COVID. You know, curbside waiting room, uh, how people can expect to be dealt with when they show up to your business, and then lastly, you said if you could go back, the advice would be, don't be afraid to adopt those technologies and make those changes, um, and to be different from other people and not necessarily follow the norm. I think that's really great advice. Um, so Steve, again, thanks so much for your time. This was super valuable. I hope everyone got some real value out of it, and uh, we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Adam. I really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks. Have a good one.